fucked up.
Yeah, it's Weekly Metal Reviews here with Keith of Because We Care.
Howdy.
And once Sam sits his fucking ass down, I'll tell you what we're talking about. Alright, he sat his fucking ass down, so I'm going to tell you what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what makes an album great. Keith can go.
Oh, alright, fine. To me, it's more about, like, how the album feels, which is, basically, it just, you know what I mean? It's really hard to explain, I guess. It's, you know, it doesn't have to sound, it doesn't sound like it's, like, kind of thrown together and it's forced to put together. Everything just kind of seems like it fits perfectly, and it just feels right. You know, you can't really, like, explain it, but, like, when you listen to a song and you like it, you know, like, yeah, that feels right, that should go there. And, you know, it doesn't have to be overly technical, and it doesn't have to be overly simple, but it could be, if that's how it works out. You know, it's also, you know, I guess sound quality has a lot to do with it. If it sounded like you recorded it underneath the train tracks over at, behind your local drug dealer's house, you know, it's going to sound like crap, and that's probably going to not make it, but sound quality does help, but it's not like it doesn't have to be perfect, at least in my book. I think the only other thing that really matters is, I guess, maybe, like, you know, if you're, I guess, kind of making sense in a way. Like, if you're a metal band, it's kind of just making sure it's obvious, like, hey, this is metal, or I don't know, if you're, you know, the country, you know, oh, this is obviously country, or you're doing rap, this is obviously rap. Like, there's nothing, you're kind of easily defined. That's what it's like. It's easily defined. You can kind of place something somewhere, because then it, I feel like that helps a lot. I don't really have much else.
What makes an album good for me? There's a couple things Keithless. So a couple things that Keith said, like the feeling that you get from it, but it's like the feeling it gives you, I guess. Like, it's that kind of automatic, it clicks in your brain, like, I like this sort of thing. At first, you know, it may be like, oh, this is alright, but if it grows on you, you know, eventually you end up liking it. Like, you listen to it, and you just like it. So much that it's not like, I'm going to play this one song, and I'm just going to go on to the next. That's another thing. It has to be, like, consistently good. Like, it consistently has to give you that good feeling the whole way through, to the point where you say it's a good album. You know, from beginning to end, it's something that you like. Like, you know, there's albums that are cool, I guess, and there's good albums, and, you know, there's, like, lacking something there. But, I mean, to have, like, a really great, really good album, it just, in my opinion, it has to have, like, this consistent feeling all the way through. Like, my favorite album of all, or one of my favorite albums of all time, is Returners from The Ghost Inside. I'll use a couple examples here. First of all, the feeling that it gives me is a good feeling of aggression, a good feeling of positivity, a good feeling of multiple things. Just that good feeling it gives you. Another thing is it's consistent to me the whole way through. It really just captures my attention the whole way through, and it doesn't have that dip in, you know, the tracks 6 to 9 that a lot of albums have that really just lose me. It's very consistent to me. Another thing about a good album like Returners is the lyrics. Definitely, you know, that's a bonus. The lyrics will speak to you. The lyrics, you know, say something that you really want to hear, something that just really makes you, you know, really click. Whether it's another band that I like that have really great albums that I love, The Devil Wears Prada, Mike Hrenica. It's like, he's so poetic with his lyrics. What my favorite lyrics is, like, it's just, you know, the lyrics he has. It may not be, like, all, like, oh my god, it speaks to me so much. But, you know, it's something that you can really just, it's something that just, you can really wrap your mind around. It really just sticks in your head. Like, Job for a Cowboy. I really like that band, but, like, Johnny Davy's lyrics, while being incredible, are just something that I can't like memorize. I mean, my small brain just can't wrap my head around them sometimes. But you know, they have to be good, simple, not too simple sometimes, you know, however they want to be. Just something that really speaks to you, something that you really just connect with. Another thing is like, well, like Keith said, the production of it. I mean, it should have good production. Because, like another example of an album, Somatic Defilement, I really like that album. It's just the production that puts such a damper on just the overall feeling of it. Like, I'm just listening and I'm just like, oh man, I wish the production was better on this. This is a good album. It's just, oh man, I wish the production was better. But what else makes an album good? Most of it, 90% of it, all the time, 90% of it is just mostly the feeling that it gives you. But I guess another thing is, instrumentally and musically, is that it's consistent, but it doesn't like repeat itself to the point where you know, grow tired of it or irritated of it. It's consistently good, not consistently the same. But another thing is instrumentally, it's not like generic, I guess. I mean, it all kind of depends on what you like, but I mean, it's something that's kind of original and has its own feeling to it. Not something that you can just, you know, get anywhere, any day, at any given time. It's something in its own that really, like, just stands out. Because, you know, you could have the same, pretty much the same album from 5 different bands. You could have multiple of the same albums from 5 different bands, and you're just like, you know, I could choose any one of these albums. It'll give me the same feeling. It'll give me the same lyrics. It'll give me the same, like, overall atmosphere. You know, forget that. It's just something that really has a good atmosphere in its own. Like an album I really like, This Is Exile. I mean, yeah, you're thinking deathcore, all that and whatnot. Or, no, even better, the self-titled album from Whitechapel. It's really something that gives you its own feeling. I mean, just the way they do everything on the album, it just gives you such a feeling to it. But, that's pretty much, I mean, all it is to me. It's 90% the feeling you get from it, 8% the album itself, like instrumentally, vocals. That's another good thing that you need. You know, just the music itself. It has to be pretty good. I mean, you can't think an album's great if the music is bad. But then the other 2%, I guess, is like the consistency. Because you can have an album that you get a good feeling from, but you don't really like the music, and you just, eh. Or you can have an album that you know, like, the music is cool, but you just don't get a good feeling from it. Nothing that really, you know, makes you, like, really want to listen to it all the time, and all that. But, I mean, when we have all three, it's just something that's really good. But, that's what makes an album good for me, I guess.
Yeah, Sam and Keith kind of sum everything up that I want to say. I would just kind of put it into 2 categories. Kind of the albums that just kind of hit you in the right spot, but maybe you can't, like, emotionally connect to the lyrics, or personally, or something. Like, take a Cannibal Corpse Evisceration Plague, or Obscuro Cosmogenesis, or Helveti, their newest one, Helvetios, or fuck, even, you know, Iron Maiden's 80s albums, you know. There's albums don't really have lyrics that you're like, oh my god, this speaks to me. It's like they know me, man, and they wrote this song about to me. It you know, like Cannibal Corpse, you know, I don't go out listen to that album, I'm like, man, they really describe my feelings about, you know, how I feel about my fucking cat, you know. It's just a really, really strong album, both musically, or just musically, and it's very captivating. It's very entertaining. It's very it just keeps you listening, and you like every song is just really fucking awesome. It goes back to what Sam was saying about consistency. The album just is very consistent, and it's just highly, highly, highly enjoyable to you. You just can't really find one flaw in it. And then the other category I would kind of put in is the albums you can emotionally and kind of personally connect to. Like my favorite album, Alice in Chains' Dirt. You can really connect to that album, and just the dark, brooding atmosphere. The whole thing is just absolutely amazing. And one of my favorite lyricists of all time, Vincent Bennett, the Casey Strain. Like, if you're in a really pissed off mood, you can really just kind of connect to what he writes, and just be like, wow, he really speaks the truth. You know what I mean? It's with that band, it's just kind of like all about the lyrics, and it's very crushing and everything. You know, don't get me wrong, it's very musically well written, but you can really just connect to it. And I always really find that to be kind of a strong point about some bands, when you can just connect to the lyrics, because it keeps people coming back to it, being like, I really like that song, because when I'm feeling a certain way, I listen to it, or something like that. It just keeps that person coming back to it, and keeps that person into the band, and just keeps it coming back to that album. And that album is just really strong, because you can emotionally, lyrically, personally connect to it. That's all I have to really say, because these guys kind of summed everything up, and I agree with them on mostly, pretty much everything they said.
Yeah. One of the biggest things that definitely really makes an album great is something I said, that it's like it's its own album, I guess. You know what I mean? You can't answer that because I'm talking to a camera, but like, it's something in its own. Like, you know, some of the all-time great albums, like Master of Puppets, that like so many people will hail as one of the greatest metal albums of all time. It's something like in its own. Sure, it's still like Metallica, I guess. I mean, really old Metallica, you know. But it was something. It was like, it was something that's just really, really good. Or like any Led Zeppelin album. It was just. I'm not saying it has to be groundbreaking for its time, because I mean, it's like, just people know that, like, you know, the Devil Wears Prada wasn't like exactly groundbreaking. Sure, they're groundbreaking as hell for metalcore, but you know, I'm talking about like world news groundbreaking. Like, people always talk about the band, the Beatles or whatever. I mean, I'm not saying it has to be like world groundbreaking, but I mean, it just has to be something like in its own. You know, like, sure, the Devil Wears Prada did a couple albums that's like, alright, yeah, this is kick ass, but you know, then they finally put out Dead Throne, where they really just made it their own. You know what I'm saying? Or like, I don't know, a band that just really makes an album of their own. Who am I thinking of? My Damnation, Chelsea Green. I mean, you may hate that album, but they really did make it their own. They went from Desolation of Eden to My Damnation. That was one hell of a transition, and they really just made the sound their own. And they're still evolving, you know, no pun intended, but like, they're still evolving and stuff, and really just making their own sound and stuff. Or like the band Hearts and Hands, they're really just, they're making their own sound. They're making like their own small impact. It's like, you know, it's not just something you can hear like anywhere else, you know. It's nothing like, I mean, yeah, I guess they're popular because, you know, for a reason, I guess, but I mean, it's not just something you can hear just anywhere else, you know. That's why, like, I think a lot of like rock bands on the radio or something, yeah, they'll be cool or something. It's just like, take well, any given rock band on the radio, you hear their hit song on the radio, you hear their couple of their hit songs, 2 or 3 of their hit songs, you're like, oh man, those songs are cool or whatever. Name another song from the album. Can't do it. Unless you're like a really big fan, sure, there's an exception. But, I mean, just bands like that where they have, their hit songs, there's no consistency with the album, because, it just lacks at parts, it's just not really interesting, or it's nothing that new. I mean, yeah, they have like a hit or two, but the whole album itself just blends into anything else you can hear on the radio. Or, the feeling you get from it isn't really like, man, I want to listen to this all day, every day. It just, like, takes something truly, like, I know I've said it a lot, but, like, Dead Throne, I've listened to at least one song from that album since I got it. At least. And, like, I'm not even kidding at all. One song, at least one song per day of that, whole album. Since I got it, like, at least over a month ago. 2 months ago, even. And just because, like, the feeling it gives me, like, the consistency I have, I enjoy it the whole way through, and it just has something in its own, And instrumentally, I love it. Love it.
Keith's tired. Keith's gonna lay down.
I don't give a fuck, seriously.
Any
Whole
last
album
thoughts?
sucks.
Let us know what you think makes an album great. We can all reviews.